9:05 can mean nothing, or it can mean you are fired. The number is identical, the judgment is not. 9:05 can mean you missed a train. It can mean a surgeon is late to a handover. It can mean your boss thinks you do not care. It can mean a friend feels ignored because you left their message hanging. Or it can mean absolutely nothing because nobody around you has attached a consequence to it. Why does a number get to judge a person? Not telling time, judging. Because a clock can only show you that it is 9:05. It cannot decide whether 9:05 means harmless, rude, dangerous, expensive, disrespectful, unprofessional, or unforgivable. Systems decide that. And over centuries, bells, factories, railways, schools, offices, and phones taught us to treat those decisions as common sense. This is why we obey clocks, not because clocks have authority, because modern life attached consequences to their numbers. A lazy version of this story would say people used to live without time. That is wrong. People had seasons, tides, calendars, markets, prayers, bells, work rhythms, court days, ship departures, and local obligations. Time existed, but it was often layered and local. A field did not need to obey the same minute as a distant city. A town bell could gather a town without asking a railway network to agree with it. Each town's midday was local because the sun was overhead there. The change was not from no time to time. The change was from many local rhythms to one operational layer powerful enough to discipline everyone inside it. That shift starts with a simple idea. Time becomes powerful when an institution can make it public. Before the phone buzzed, the bell rang. A bell is a strange kind of authority. It does not touch anyone. It does not explain itself. It enters the air and bodies move. Monasteries, towns, schools, and factories all used sound to turn private activity into shared order. Everyone now. That is the old structure, hiding inside the modern notification. The surface is new. The social form is old. An external signal interrupts private life and says now. The bell is not the whole story. It is the first clue. The clock becomes powerful when its time belongs to an institution. Then time becomes something more than rhythm. It becomes value. Benjamin Franklin's line, "Remember that time is money," is usually treated like a productivity slogan. But in context, it is about credit, reputation, delay, and economic exposure. If time can become money, then delay can become loss. And if delay can become loss, someone will eventually ask who caused it. That is the crucial move. The clock is still only an instrument. But now the instrument is connected to a ledger. And ledgers remember. Punctuality becomes more than manners. It becomes evidence. Factories did not need clocks as decoration. They needed synchronization. Machines run in sequence. Workers arrive in groups. Materials move through stages. So the factory gave time a new institutional job. Prove whether a person was inside or outside the rhythm. E.P. Thompson's essay on time, work discipline and industrial capitalism, does not say humans suddenly discovered time. It shows how industrial capitalism intensified measured labor discipline. The clock became a witness. It could testify that someone was late. It could support a deduction. It could turn a worker into a line in a record. Industrial testimony includes records of children working long days and having to keep pace with machinery. One phrase carries the mechanism, keep with the machine. And once that arrangement becomes normal, the moral language changes. Late no longer means the rhythm did not fit the person. Late means the person failed the rhythm. That transfer still survives. Today it may look cleaner. A badge scan, a timesheet, a missed service window, a calendar warning. But the moral move is familiar. A system creates the grid. Then the person is judged by how smoothly they fit inside it. Now the whole argument becomes visible. Local noon can be perfectly valid in one town. Noon there means the sun is at its local height there. Another town farther west reaches that moment later. The sun has not made a mistake. The earth is round. For one town, this is fine. For a railway network, it is chaos. Trains need connections. Timetables need shared reference points. Passengers need to know whether a number in one city means the same operational thing in another. At railway scale, local noon became friction, not because it was false, because it was inconvenient for a network. This is how many inherited systems win. They do not always defeat older rhythms by proving them stupid. They defeat them by making them harder to use at scale. On November 1883, North American railroads implemented standard railway time. Some accounts remember the transition as the day of two noons. Picture a public clock in a town being pulled into a new system. The sun still says one thing. The railway timetable needs another. A clock that had already passed local noon could be reset into railway time. The sun still existed. The town still existed. Local physical time did not vanish. But the public clock was now being asked to serve a network. The old time did not disappear. It became subordinate. And in that moment, the whole story becomes visible. Two authorities colliding on one clock face. The railway problem was not only American. In Britain, local times varied from place to place. That was tolerable until railways made confusion expensive. So the system began to choose a reference. In 1847, the Railway Clearing House recommended Greenwich time for railway stations. That is a wonderfully plain sentence. Not mystical, not cosmic. A railway clearing house needed trains to run on a shared schedule, so it recommended one clock for the network. Public clocks followed unevenly. People adjusted. The compromise hardened. In 1880, Britain made Greenwich Mean Time legal time. Then, in 1884, delegates met at the International Meridian Conference in Washington and recommended Greenwich as the prime meridian for global reference. This is how infrastructure becomes invisible. A timetable needs a clock. A station adopts the clock. A law confirms the clock. A conference exports the reference. A generation later, the decision feels like nature. Today, the number on your phone is the visible edge of maintained global time infrastructure. It feels personal because it is in your pocket, but the number is public time, maintained by institutions, carried into private life. The old bell had to ring across a town. The new bell now sits under your pillow. Most of us do not first meet strict time as railway policy. We meet it as children. Bell rings, period starts. You are late, you need a note. School did not invent time discipline. and the simple schools our factory story is too blunt. But school is where many people learn that punctuality is character. Then the office extends the lesson. Calendar blocks, deadlines, timesheets, recurring meetings, performance windows. And then the phone makes the schedule portable. The tower becomes the wall becomes the wrist becomes the phone. Now the schedule follows you into sleep, transport, work, friendship, and silence. A calendar invite can colonize a morning before you wake up. A message timestamp can turn delay into evidence. A notification can make attention feel like obligation. The phone did not invent obedience. It inherited the chain and made it frictionless. Bell, ledger, factory, railway, school, office, phone, different objects, same question. Who gets to attach consequences to time? None of this means shared time is bad. That would be childish. Shared time saves lives. Hospitals need shift handovers. Airports need coordination. Emergency services need dispatch. Care work, courts, transport, childcare, logistics, and public safety all depend on reliable time. The inheritance survived partly because it works. The problem is not the clock. The problem is when a useful coordination system quietly turns its conditions into moral judgment. A missed train is a logistical cost. A missed shift can become a wage issue. A late message can become a trust issue. A school absence can become a character issue. The same clock, different consequence. The system sets the consequence. The clock carries it. So what is a clock? Socially, not mechanically. A clock is a public-facing interface. It shows a number. The institution decides what the number means. 9:05 can mean harmless. 9:05 can mean fired. 9:05 can mean missed surgery. 9:05 can mean disrespect. 9:05 can mean nothing at all. The number does not contain the judgment. The judgment comes from the system around the number. And when that system becomes old enough, useful enough, and ordinary enough, the judgment begins to feel natural. That is inheritance, not a dead tradition in a museum, a working rule that survived long enough to feel like common sense. We obey clocks because they are useful. We obey clocks because coordination matters. We obey clocks because institutions built consequences around their numbers. And we obey clocks because those consequences were taught, repeated, standardized, automated, and inherited. The clock did not begin as a moral judge. It became the face of systems that judge. So the next time a number on a screen changes how you feel about yourself, ask a better question. Not, what time is it? Ask, what system is speaking through this time? Who attached the consequence? Who is served by this rule? And who has to absorb the mismatch when life does not fit the grid? The clock sounds neutral. Sometimes neutrality is how administration becomes invisible. This is the inheritance lab, and this is why we obey clocks. Who built the systems you live inside? When did they start feeling natural? What did you inherit without noticing? Follow the inheritance lab for the next investigation.